Hi, I'm Julia Silka with a very important, exciting, and somewhat urgent request of my friends. As many of you know, 2 years ago I set a goal to raise $101,000 for the women and children who need it most. I promised to do that by last Christmas. But that didn't happen, so I gave myself a 1-year extension. And now this time I could feel it. I could really feel it. Santa Claus is on his way. But first, a little bit of background. I started working with an organization called Raising Malawi. Why Malawi, this little sliver of a country in sub-Saharan Africa? I read a book called The End of Poverty by Jeffrey Sachs, and in it he describes Malawi as the perfect storm. AIDS, malaria, TB, poor crop turnout, etc., etc. All these largely preventable conditions that are killing off the adults and collapsing their infrastructure and introducing more and more orphans into the system every day. This is the first map from his book that really opened my eyes. So again, I wanted to focus on the poorest of the poor. Extreme poverty is defined as living on less than $1 a day. So if you look at the purple, you can see that extreme poverty is concentrated in India and then several countries in Africa. Now look at this map on life expectancy. Look at the dark red countries. People living in these countries have a life expectancy of 40 years or less. So I'm 40 years old, and gratefully I come from a dark purple country, but if I lived in Malawi, chances are I'd be dead by now. The experts say we can intervene to stop the bleeding, so to speak, and not only end extreme poverty, but actually help build self-sufficient and self-sustaining communities. So I'm committed to doing both through the work of Raising Malawi, but my message to you today is really on the stop the bleeding part. Oh, and I should mention there are a lot of NGOs on the ground in Malawi doing just that. To illustrate, take a look at this picture. It reflects some of the work that Partners in Health is doing in Malawi and other parts of the world. You look at the left side and you think, poor bastard, wish there was something I could do to help. But then you look at the right side and you think, are you kidding me? That's the same guy. All he needed was ARVs, the medicine for people living with AIDS. So the before guy can't work the fields or provide for his family, but how about the after guy? If we get medicine to the before guy, we won't have to spend as much on AIDS orphans because there won't be any AIDS orphans. And yes, I do think we need to do more to educate and prevent against AIDS and other diseases, but we have to stop the bleeding first. There's an orphanage in Mchinji, Malawi called Home of Hope. I visited last year and I met many of its 600 young residents. They're bright, they're silly, they're deserving little kids who sadly lost their parents for all the wrong reasons. It's going to cost about $840,000 to renovate the Home of Hope and provide these children with food and clothes, education, and the medical attention they need for basic care. And that's about $1,400 per child per year. So that's what I'm actually focusing on raising right now, and what this fundraiser is all about is trying to collect as much as I can against that $1,400 per child. Again, we're not building the Four Seasons here, but we would like to build out the infrastructure so that the water that they use, for example, doesn't pull from the runoff from the pond and taste like fish. It's like, you visit there and unfortunately, you rock a few babies and you can't wait to get out of there. I would never want to live like this. And, suffice it to say, these kids probably don't like it much either. It's a beautiful country. You look around and you're just in awe at the glory and the majesty of everything around you. But you think, my God, can't we just get, simple amenities, a couple balls to play with, some chalk to write on the chalkboard so we can actually get a decent education. 600 kids and just a handful of people to care for them. So that's where I'm putting my money and my time. And so far, I've raised $35,000 with only $66,000 to go. But, here's how I'm doing it. I found a donor who offered to match up to $10,100 of funds that I raise between now and October 1st. So that's just 2.5 weeks to raise at least $10,100, and that's where you come in. I mean, please just feel the energy of this video. These are just beautiful little children. They're lovely little kids, and I just, if you can just pull out your wallets and be as generous as you possibly can, I'll have that money matched, which can take us to $20,200 in a couple of weeks, and, tack on one Christmas miracle, and that'll bring us to $101,000 raised by Christmas.
Aduh, aku di kamar sama tu.